Everybody, welcome back to the LFA. We are here about at the halfway point, a little past that for the regular season games. I'm so glad to be back here this week. Apologize for not being here last week, but we have Final Boss versus To the Moon here tonight. Soren, so glad to see you again. How's it going?
It's going well. Honestly, I don't know whether or not it was a good thing you missed last week or it was a bad thing. It was an event of a series. The first two games were very clearly um eh, normal or as par, a bit of highlight from final in game one, but that game three is still scarring me. I still can't put in the words what happened. So I'm really looking forward to it. We have two pretty big heavy hitters today, so I'm not expecting as much chaos, so to speak. Obviously, TTM and Final Boss both on the higher end of the table. Looking at it here, or excuse me, never mind. Two to Moon is actually pretty mid-table, but I mean, I say that there's like four or five people, 4 or 5 teams that are 3-2 right now. So very competitive towards the top side. TTM and Final Boss both looking like they have really high highs, also having some pretty low lows. Some teams that seem losses to teams that they should win, wins against some teams that they probably shouldn't have won. So definitely one of those games where it's going to really help determine who is really top tier team in the split and who is still in that middle bracket.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, like you said, with how the standings are at this current moment, and with Final Boss still have yet to play their game against ID as well, it's kind of at a little bit of a gridlock with a lot of these standings right now. 3-1, 3-2, 3-2, 3-2, and 3-2. With ID, if ID do end up, if they did end up picking up that game against Final Boss, if they're actually able to play it, they would be 3-2, and Final Boss would also be 3-2 as well. So, like, more than half the
Six
team
teams.
would be 3-2. So, it's a really funny gridlock that we kind of have going on here with TD still being completely undefeated here. But into the draft, we have a first pick for Final Boss, the Zen Zhao. Corky answered over for To the Moon. I expect to probably see the jungler also picked up here to kind of something into that Zen Zhao pick. But Zen Zhao, for a private pick, not really something you see all too often.
No, but that being said, it's not a bad one. Xin Zhao has been growing into the meta a lot recently. Just a very high damage bar, obviously pretty good on the engage as well. Just a pretty good all-around AD jungler. Going into that Wukong has the private. I don't know if that's a hard counter, but I think that's actually a pretty even matchup. Both are going to be really strong setup characters for the rest of their teams, while also being able to do some serious damage. Corki, kind of on its own right now, is one of the best ADCs to kind of flex around. You could run many a different supports to go with them. So picking up the jungler second, I think, is a really smart move. I'd imagine Final Boss is going to pick up, I was going to say support, because Senna is one of those champions where I guess you could run her support. She did recently get buffed in the support role, but most of the time you go AD, but she has a very limited pool of who she could pair with. There we go. Okay. We do see them go with the Tom Kench. Can't bench the Kench. That classic pairing of the Senna Tom does come out, I think, to no one's surprise.
Yeah, Senatom, just big staple of a pick, even before Senna got a little bit of
Oh,
her
yeah.
buffs into the ADC role. Even then, with fasting Senna, Tom Kench was always there as the just prime efficient pick for her into that bot side. But now that she can actually go as ADC and can kind of forego a little bit of that more supportive role, it does open up to allow more economy to the Senna and put Tom Kench more of a, supportive role more so than kind of this frontline bruiser tank, which, considering his kit and utility he possesses, he doesn't really need stats as much as he really just needs to be there for his kit and how you actually utilize it. Leona, though, is going to be the answered up, followed up for To the Moon to try to go up against the Senatom lane. So Corky Leona, very strong lane, has a lot of kill threat and kill potential, but Final Boss do have a safe lane as well, so it's a little bit volatile, and it's up to To the Moon's bot lane to kind of find an angle into the Cineton, because if they can't, they're going to kind of scale out of control as they usually do with this matchup. So up for To the Moon bot lane to see if they can't kind of roll the dice here and maybe leave lane with a couple of kills.
Yeah, Absolutely. And we do see a pretty heavy target ban now. Obviously, those first three picks for both sides on the ban phase are going to be pretty standard. I mean, we're in, again, I know we're well into halfway through the season, but I'm going to repeat it again. We are in Fearless. So you have to worry less about running back picks, and you have to focus a little bit more on taking away comfort or really, really strong picks from your opponent. So those six, I don't expect to change, but we do see a pretty heavy focus on banning away the top laners. Obviously, the Alawi, Mordekaiser, and Ornn. Ornn being the real big one there is one of those really staple top laners that can always do well in pretty much any lane matchup. But also the volley got taken away. So those are some pretty big hitters. Okay, Poppy is going to be the R5 ban. So that's even more. So that's also technically a flex into the jungle, but I mean, since I was already picked, so I don't think that's a worry. But I do want to point out TTM do have the final pick. They do pick up the Seraphine. I assume that's a Seraphine mid, unless they're going APC with Corki in mid, but I doubt that. But two Immune are actually in a really interesting position. Oh, excuse me. Never mind. I'm going a little bit crazy. Actually, Final Boss, my bad. Final Boss obviously had the Turbo Psycho Ghost go a little bit crazy in the middle of the week. That ended up getting reverted, and they ended up picking up Taunty to replace Psycho Ghost. So that is going to be a new player. We have seen him a couple times, not on stream, but they have played a couple games prior into this, and they have a pretty deep pool of champions they like to pick up, including some notable heavy counters. Malphite, though, paired with the Silas is certainly
Usually
an
it's the other way
interesting
around.
combination. Yeah, usually it's the other way around, but I mean, there are a lot of really strong ultimates to get paired with. I mean, look at that Leona. Also, the Encore from the Seraphine is the one I'm really looking at. That is a big tide turner in a fight. So obviously, I think Silas can get a lot of value. I don't know if it's as much value as if you picked it into the Malphite, but they'll still get value out of that ult regardless.
Another thing I want to point out as well is that the couple games that Tonti has been brought in as a sub was actually jungle, I believe, for To the Moon. So
Yeah,
he's
primarily a
actually
jungler.
so he's actually facing the team that he subbed in for a couple of games. Now permanent replacement over for final boss. So it's kind of funny how that ends up working out there, but you know, draft leagues, that's just kind of how it goes with a bunch of random and just overall crazy shenanigans that can happen. Vladimir, the last pickup for To the Moon, got some scaling there. I mean, a lot of scaling, right? You got the Corki, you got the Vladimir. Seraphine scaling is quite crazy, and this is going to be a non-support Seraphine, so it's going to scale quite more linearly and, you know, better than she would be otherwise into the support position. So, To the Moon, I would say have a pretty good grasp of what they want to play. They grabbed something into that R5 pick that does really well into the Senna, into the late game, able to answer up that scaling while still having a lot of scaling with the Corki. The problem that they could kind of run into is maybe finding the ability to do a lot into the early mid game, and that's kind of where Wukong comes in to maybe find that transition to be a little bit more consistent with them. But final boss with the Xin Zhao pick is a really excellent pick for that early mid game transition. Does just as well as Wukong would onto To the Moon while having a little bit more consistency with the Silas and the Malphite when it comes to these team fight engages. But I would say in general, between both of these drafts, I would say it's not entirely crazy to say that one hardcore one over the other. They both have a pretty, you know, consistent like team fight front to back, can go a little bit of a dive, and can just in general have a lot of disengage as well. It's kind of up to these teams on how they want to play and how they play against a play style that the other team wants to go for. Because you can do a lot with both of these comps, so it's not, I would say, a
Yeah.
traditional one-dimensional comp for either of these teams.
Yeah, I think the big thing that really separates it is that for me, the final boss composition. While I absolutely agree. I actually think that they do a little bit of the same role, like you said, a big front to back composition for both of them. I think it's a bit more of a standard composition. That's a little bit more what you would see out of a team play scenario with how those champions interact and how they are very clearly set in pretty defined roles. While the side of of To the Moon have very similar positions, but it's not quite clear as defined roles. I think there's also a lot more of the off meta picks. So I think there is more clear roads for a victory for the final boss team just through the draft. However, I think while TTM is more volatile, that does also come with the fact that while there may be lower lows, there's also a chance of much higher highs. I think if this does go into the late game, and obviously both teams have scaling, especially with Final Boss and that Senna, if that Senna cannot get ahead and cannot make use of the time in the early game that they probably have a little bit of the lead, if TTM can keep this side down, they could have a insane upside as they get into that mid to late game. But I think they're going to have to keep this final boss team down, which I struggle to see how, because I think they will have a pretty firm hold in the early game. But that being said, it all comes down to the play. I absolutely agree. I think no team clearly won. I think this is uh, one of the most even drafts we have seen all split, even if it's not the most quote meta of the pick.
I can't cast a curse this time because I can't pinpoint which team absolutely won the draft, because that happens every single time. There'll be one team that I strongly believe heavily won the draft, and then they would end up losing the game regardless. This time, I don't even know who I could cast a curse here, because both of these teams have solid picks for kind of what they want to do. I would say that none of them is really going to struggle. Like 5 items versus 5 items, wouldn't really put a like finger onto the scale on which team would have just like an easier time just based off pure draft composition if both these teams have full items, right? I would say like
Yeah.
it would come down to preference, while because obviously full late game Vlad, a lot of people would prefer that, but late game Senna, a lot of people would prefer that. So it really depends. It's just the biggest alarm that I see is just the Malphite, obviously, versus an AP matchup. But it's really, I guess I could put in a lot for the Malphite pick to be able to actually like get his ultimates landed correctly onto the Seraphine, onto this Corki, maybe onto this Wukong. I would say it's a little bit harder for him to find targets over vice versa for the engage for To the Moon, but that's like the only glaring thing I can see.
Yeah, absolutely. I do also worry, but I think if I were to choose a matchup to really look out for, I think it is going to be this mid lane matchup. Obviously, two insanely good mid laners are going to be dueling off, but they also have two really strong champions that are also really big tide turners in a fight. Those, obviously, Silas can steal the Seraphines, which does help equalize it a little bit, but that Encore can completely turn a fight in your favor if you're losing. So I would keep an eye on that matchup, who's ahead, who's behind, and who starts climbing back into it in the team fighting stage. But that being said, these teams are so even, it's going to have to be settled on the Rift, because there's no way to distinguish who comes out on top on the draft. So just stay with us for a couple of minutes while we let Spectator Delay do its thing. We'll be back with game one in just a couple of minutes.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game number
Uh,
1 as we get into the immediate pause, because that's just how it goes here. Final Boss Esports versus To The Moon. Final Boss onto the blue side, To The Moon onto the red side. Hopefully, this pause will be quite quick here.
I can't do it again. I can't do it again. Please come back. I can't do another 4v5. I would hope and pray that it's a very different scenario than last week, but I can't do it. My mental cannot withstand it again. Okay, we're back.
There we
Let's
go.
go.
You don't have to
Like,
worry about it at all, hopefully. Knock on wood.
I would pray that these two teams that are mid to upper half could deal with the 4v5. Being in favor, by the way, in a 5v4, in favor of yourself. But it is going to be TTM on the red side. It does look like, through the way they are about to leave Fountain, that they are going to go into a 5-point. It doesn't look like they're all stacked up on one side,
A
about
lot
to
of
go
P's
do a
for
death
Final
push.
Boss, though.
Oh, actually, Final Boss might do something a little bit tricky here. Everyone heading to that bot lane. It looks like they gotta try to take one of the. They gotta try to take Bush. Yeah, they're gonna play aggressively in lane. I won't find anyone. Never mind, they're not gonna play in Bush. They're just running it in bottom.
We'll see what Booty
Okay.
Warrior is going to do here. He is going to be able to get it out there and get a little bit of ward credit going over to Tanti into that top side, but
Pick for
ward's want to
Mercy.
give XP, so it doesn't matter. Just a little bit extra gold. But yeah, Final Boss is going to take over the bot side. Going to get some vision down, but nothing too crazy. Final Boss tried. I'm happy. After my own heart. I love the level 1 invades. They tried, you know. I'll give them participation credit for that. It might have been no kills, but you know, the effort was there.
Yeah. Yeah, and that is going to cause a little bit of chaos around the rift. Obviously, there's a lot of space taken by Final Boss on the bottom side, but also this Vladimir up on the top is playing pretty aggressively, waiting for this Malphite, kind of having to reset. But also that ward down the bot side blue does give way to Final Boss knowing that both sides now are going to be leaning and prioritizing this bot lane as both start up on the top side.
A little bit of trades going off between all of these members. Back for Mercy trying to get a lick down onto Peekaboo. Nothing too crazy. Just bot lane level 1 shenanigans. Trying to get a little bit of that XP lead before level 2 hits up. That is going to be the stun coming out, though. The passive is going to shred the HP bar back for Mercy, but Peekaboo taking a lot back from Verja. But it is the HP, technical overall HP advantage going over to the Moon. Booty Warrior hasn't taken so much damage yet. Back for Mercy eating a lot, though, so he's going to have to be a little bit careful. But they should hit level 2 here first.
Yeah, meanwhile, a little bit of trading up in the mid lane. I don't think it's going to result in anything, but there is biscuits on that Tom Kench, so it's not the end of the world. Meanwhile, Tanti does go in, do a little bit of damage, but it's still just chip. I think right now, overall, Final Boss are in command of the lanes as kind of all three of the TTM players, or I guess four, if you got support, are pretty much pushed under their turrets, are pretty darn close to it. But that being said, the junglers, the kind of deciding factor, are pretty even. But it actually looks like Wukong might be foregoing some of their camps to try to get a sneaky gank here.
Going to land. Back for Mercy. I think he's just going to fall down. Verja trying to run away here. Rexcat wasn't even really needed for that. They just kind of got... You know, that right there shows if you just have the confidence to go in, you don't even need your jungler help. It is just there for a precaution, but Back for Mercy did end up expending the flash. And I want to point out to the double cleanse bot lane for Final Boss for both Verja and Back for Mercy. They both have cleanse here into the, I would say, a pretty relatively good matchup to bring cleanse into. Not only do you have the Leona, but you have the Seraphine. But for going two summoners for possible heal, cleanse, or not cleanse, heal, exhaust, or barrier, or ignite. We'll have to see if that is going to be a little detrimental later on into the game. But so far, it is going to be the first kill going over to the Moon, and Peekaboo able to pick it up. They're going to feel happy about that one.
Yeah, I will say Rexcat not being involved, while it's pretty good for the bot lane, it's actually not great for Rexcat.
Oh, there's a
Oh,
quick
never
flush. Jake
mind.
gonna be stunned up. Gonna be canceled out of his little jump there. The ignite is there. There's the Valkyrie going forward, sending Beg for Mercy to Valhalla onto that one. And that's gonna be 2 deaths to the Tompkins support. Did expend his cleanse that time as well. And to the moon, they are definitely winning the volatile side of this matchup, able to pick up those kills there. Exactly what we said that they needed to do early on to kind of shut down the Tom Kench lane.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I said it in the preview of if they can keep the Senna down, they can keep them from getting the scaling that they need. They'll be in a pretty good position. They'll be on the high side of that high risk, high reward situation that they're in. So that's definitely something to keep track of. But I will say, Rexcat kind of leaving some camps behind to go help out the bot lane, kind of in vain, not really needing to be there, has kind of leveled out a little bit as they have caught up pretty much in CS. They're still generally a little bit behind because both have now reset, but overall it was not too impactful for them. We do see the first Drake as well spawn on the map. We are going to be starting with the Chemtech, which is actually pretty good because that is one of the weaker souls in the pool. So to get the solo Drake for that is actually not bad, as that means there's a possibility
Gonna
of
do
a
a little bit
stronger
careful.
solo.
That's coming up JDK. The knockup is gonna be missed out. Gonna be forced to flash. The encore is up, so they can't chase too far. They're gonna have to pull the brakes onto that one. JDK himself pretty low, taking a lot of bad trades into Defoe, so not able to follow up on that. Defoe expends the flash, but does end up living.
Yeah, Defoe actually really holding their own here. Obviously, Jake being one of the, or excuse me, JDK being one of the best mid laners in the split, is actually doing their
Careful, taking a
own.
lot of damage. Defoe with no flash, no mana either. Nothing in the tank. Flash coming out from Jake. The encore is going to be stolen up. There's the hijack, charmed up, going to be beaten down. Rex now here to avenge his mid laner, but it's not going to be enough. Even used the flash. Sadby coming out from Jake. Peekaboo is nearby. So is Booty Warrior. See if they can't find anything, but they're just going to decide against it. Mid is going to be pushed. Final boss is going to get the reset off and feel happy about that one.
Yeah, sorry about that, Defoe. That was absolutely a caster curse. I was just praising you, and you die within like 10 seconds. That is going to be Drake towards TTM, though. They're going to take the opportunity to push in and secure that. So, and I don't think it's really contested. Yes, and Zhao is taking Gromps right now. So either they don't know or they don't care. So that is going to be the first Drake, a major jungle objective over to TTM, which is pretty good, seeing as they also have 2 kills, which means they're just 1 away from picking up that feat of strength, and they're now in the lead for a second one. So that's another thing to keep track of here. Obviously, the turret's another thing to play for, but we're still a couple of minutes out from that really being a possibility for either side.
Xenoblade going to land up here. Jake is nearby. There's the Daybreak to get the stun off. Jake waiting for a really long time. Nick gets a perfect patience play here. Peekaboo forced to flash, using exhaust, hunting the top side with the ultimate. Gonna fall down. There's Feet of Warfare going to the moon. Now here is Vexcat. There's a Crest of God to try to keep Verja alive. Going back into the Peekaboo. JDK is here. There's the stun up. Root up. Sorry, my bad for Booty Warrior. Vexcat gonna be the next one. Gonna fall down. Double kill. Going over to the Silas, and final boss may have lost out the 3 kills for the feed, but they will take that win off the backside. They're picking up 3 kills.
Yeah, that is massive for them as they're able to kind of slingshot ahead in gold. And not only that, but 4 kills now, 2 going over to the Zinzao, 2 going over to the Silas. Silas getting 2 kills there, and Seraphine not having secured any yet is huge because they were already in a pretty good position. Obviously, Defoe pushed up a little bit and got punished for it. So now Silas already in a position. Now with 2 kills under their belt and in more advanced position is going to be very scary for Defoe. As we see here, as the health bar just gets whittled away.
Nice little answer back from Defoe, but still JDK is going to feel happy about that. They both have sustain. Silas sustain is a little bit easier to utilize and abuse over from Seraphine sustain, especially with the cooldown and the passive needing for Defoe to actually get the heal off. There's a TP coming down for Beg for Mercy. Oh, I just realized he has Unsealed Spellbook. I was a bit confused there, but I was like, TP coming down? I was like, what's going on here? It's Beg for Mercy's TP from the Unsealed Spellbook. So,
Casual.
I mean, we'll see we'll see how much value he can get from that. I guess that is why he brought the cleanse. He's going to want to utilize that more so than not. So we'll see how well that is going to go throughout the game. But still, it's going to be a little bit of pressure going over to the moon, as they are still up those 2 kills. It's 3 assists to Verja. Not able to pick up any of the kills into that bot side play. So still not in a position where they can really walk up and just out damage this bot lane of To The Moon. Like, just look at that, 1 auto, 1 Q. That's about a 50 HP right there.
Oh, yeah. Notably, in the background there, grubs were secured by Final Boss, and it was all 3 of them. So that tracker is now 1-to-1. So expect to see Final Boss really start putting a lot more pressure on those major jungle objectives. Obviously, having already lost the 1 feet of strength, they're not going to want to lose them all. So they need to stop TTM from getting any more Drakes or picking up any Rift Heralds. So expect to see a lot more presence in those pits by Final Boss. But that being said, we're still a couple minutes out. We're just now under 2 minutes until the next Drake, and obviously there's only 1 set of grubs now. So that's going to be probably 5 or 6 minutes until we even see a Rift Herald come through. So that is going to be something to look for in the future, but not quite yet. Meanwhile, rest of the state of the game is pretty level, I will say, on top of the fact that they're winning.
The chomp is there. That is the ultimate expended from both the supports. Verja and Back for Mercy looking for a little bit something off the back end of that, but not much is going to be found there. So, I mean, when you face up to Tahm Kench, that's kind of what's to be expected. You expend your ultimate, get his ultimate. I'd say that's a fine trade for kind of what you're going on with. You don't necessarily need the ultimate from Leona to go for these engages. So, Booty Warrior, Peekaboo, see if they cannot find a little bit of a team fight while that cooldown is expunged. Which, I mean, they have plenty of time to find something. They have a lot of avenues to really look for really anything into the spot side. They have a lot of tools to utilize.
Yeah, and TTM actually have a lot of vision all across the map.
There. Nice pull from Zazabi to keep out from that one. Tachi just going to chase him down, but with the Hemoplague still up, with the Q healing, not much else you can do from that. Nice reaction time from Zazabi to get out from that ultimate.
Yeah, and TTM did have a lot of vision to the map. Oh, Defoe? I think Defoe is dead? Nope.
Okay, he's good. Woo! After those 2 kills, JDK just not letting him to breathe at all.
I mean, yeah, like I said, JDK's already in a...
Coming up to the cycle to knock him up. There's going to be the stun followed up. JDK under the tower. Gonna fall down. Shutdown going over. Nice bait coming out from Defoe. And stacking that CC perfectly to make sure JDK cannot move at all once it happened. Defoe getting the last laugh onto that one. Get a little bit of payback for how the laning phase was going after those 2 kills. Drake started up for To The Moon. Jake is nearby. I don't think he's really going to be able to do much here. I'll see if he tries to go for a steal, which it looks like he might go for it. And there it is, right over the wall. 2k HP. He's going to be able to get it. Yes, picks it up.
Got it.
That is your MVP from last split there. Donnie Shadow to keep him alive. TP coming up from JDK. Gonna fall down. Beg for Mercy. Not there in time. Didn't even have to chop up, even if he was. Falls down. Gives another kill over to Defoe, but he does pick up the Drake, and that is going to be root up onto Peekaboo. And Booty Warrior got to be a little bit careful. Flash still isn't up quite yet. There's the encore. Billy gonna miss out from Peekaboo. Booty Warrior gonna fall down. JDK picking up that one. Oh my goodness, Final Boss is finding a way to turn around that little just misplay from JDK in the mid lane. Jake able to pick up the Drake for the steal, falls down. They still get a kill onto Booty Warrior and get so much pressure into this bot side. Top side, Sazby looking for a solo kill onto Tante. Hemoplague about to go off. Tante able to not flash out, able to walk away. Has his ultimate ready. Beg for Mercy. You have to be a little bit careful. Sazby still looking. Jake is onto the prowl. He's on the hunt. Is going to be able to knock him up. There's the little disc of rock. Just putting Zazabi down into the dirt here. A little overconfidence there in Final Boss. Really turning around that tide of tempo that To The Moon thought they had.
Yeah, absolutely. On top of that, JDK did actually secure the kill onto Booty Warrior there. So they're even better. Defoe did pick up 1 kill in that mix, but now 3-1. It's still very much in that Silas's favor, even though they're a little bit behind on the CS. That top lane fall also levels that out. It's been very even so far overall there, so nothing's going to change. But, I mean, we're now starting to see Xin Zhao really come online. The Silas is becoming absolutely horrifying for the side of TTM, and on top of that, like I said before, they denied that Drake take. That's huge. That puts them at the 2 major jungle objectives. It keeps TTM back, so it keeps them one step away from those feats of strength. So final boss are in a really good position right now. Generally, the game, despite it is leaning towards final boss, is still very much up in the air. It's only about a 500 gold difference right now, so there is still a lot of room, especially as no major turret plates have really been taken. Certainly not a whole turret has been taken yet, so there's still a lot of gold to play for across the map. There's still bounties that have to be played out, so right now it's still anyone's game, but final boss do definitely have the momentum with them. They have the win in their sails as we start approaching that mid game, as you know, that Rift Herald starts coming through, as we are going to start getting to the soul, which does look like it's going to be an ocean one to play for. So that health regen is going to be massive, I think, for both teams, as there's no real outright tank for either of them, I guess, except for Malphite. So both teams will really appreciate that extra healing.
Yeah. But we're gonna have to wait and for this pause to go through. Hopefully it won't take too much longer. I'm gonna go ahead and see exactly, hopefully nothing that is too wrong going on here. Hopefully it's just a quick DC, but we're gonna go to a quick intermission until we get this figured out. See you then. Alright, welcome back to this glorious game so far. Final boss to the moon, currently equalized right now. Barely not even a 1k gold lead over to final boss as, I mean, considering what was kind of going on at the beginning of the game here, it looked like it was going to be to the moon favored for a little bit, and then final boss just able to, you know, catch it back there, but they, So what happens when you have the previous MVP on your team, Jake, with that amazing Dragon Steel to keep it nice and competitive and stop that Drake stacking from happening for To the Moon. And they're actually one away for the triple objectives for the feat. So at that point, it's only going to be up to whoever gets first tower. To the Moon still have to get another Drake and Rift Herald if they want to pick up that one, but so far, it looks like it is just going to be the race for the first tower. We're going to be caught out taunting to the bot side. There's actually no Drake for another 2 minutes, so they're overloading a lot here. See if that's really going to do anything.
Yeah, Rift Herald is up soon, so you'd imagine they would want to put more focus on that.
Mercy looking for a knock-up right onto Zazabi. He is going to use the pull there, but that is going to be that utility down, but walk away with that little speed up from the pool there. Use the Hemo Plague though, but is going to survive. That is going to be TP used for the top side. So Tanti's not going to have his TP for this Drake fight. So pretty big going up for To the Moon as Defoe taking a lot of damage once again from JDK. He can never walk up into this lane. It's over. He has the Proto Belt. He even has the No Magic Mantle for a little bit of extra resistance. It's kind of over for Defoe into this mid lane.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do see Versia kind of getting bullied here. 0-4, so yet to fall, and is a little bit behind the CES, but it's not too bad. They've actually kept up pretty well with items. I think they're technically maybe a component behind, but it is not that drastic. Meanwhile, we do see a lot of presence from this TTM jungler, Rexcat, in the area, but not going to really have the opportunity to do anything. So they don't really have a lot of information. Meanwhile, topside, that Rift Herald is getting secured, and I mean, with the presence being shown on bot side, they know this one's practically for free. Final boss are going to get this Rift Herald, and they're gonna get it and secure the feat of strength. So next turret to fall pretty much decides who's gonna get them. Notably, that mid lane blue side is pretty weak. Same with the blue side top tier 1. So there are avenues here for both teams to win. However, right now I do think it's favored for TTM to secure those feats of strength.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a little bit easier for them. They are struggling into this mid lane, but the one lane that they're struggling into still has quite a healthy tower, while mid and top both looking to be quite scary here to really try to defend all that much, especially since Tati ended up using his TP in I would say a weird manner. Means that if he gets pushed out of his lane for any reason, he cannot come back or is forced to rotate. He does have the Canic Recurn, so he can survive against this lane a lot better in comparison against Zazabi here, but we'll have to see what they plan on doing if they actually want to go for a power play, but it is going to be Rift Herald to final boss, so it is entirely possible for them to just win out in one of these small skirmishes, get one member, and they're not even going to wait for a skirmish. They're just going to throw Shelly right into this mid lane here, and I expect to see a hardcore defense going on here. Jake going to go in, just get a lot of damage out, see if anything else is going to be done. But they might just want to get the damage out and pull the members from To the Moon here.
Yeah, a lot of priority being put onto that mid lane as the Drake is up. So that is going to pull pretty much everyone into position. Notably here, Tanti is separated, but has a possible flank angle if this ends up becoming a 5v5 fight on mid. Senna's still down on bot side, though. They're going to be late to the party.
Yep, able to get that wave down under the turret, though, so he's going to deny some golden XP here. All 5 members of both these teams are now here. Tanti seeing if he can't find anything here. To the Moon with the mid lane prio. Final boss with the Drake prio already starting it up here. They need to pick this one up to just try to find a little bit extra inches into this dragon play here, but To the Moon are just going to go for the tower, see if they can't pick up the full feats, and I'm pretty sure they're going to. There it is, though. Tanti looking for something, not going to be able to find anything quite yet. Booty Warrior trying to just play frontline for his team there. Back from Mercy. There, down, but knock up going up with the Encore. We're going to hit one. That's all it's needed. Defoe going to be put into the dirt here. And Booty Warrior with the solo eclipse hitting too. Nicely well done. Cyclone on to 3. Rescott doing a lot for his team there. And one more Cyclone to get 3 up once again. No 4. And it's up to Zazaby to do as much damage as possible. The same with Peekaboo. Valkyrie away to flash, followed up by Jake. Gonna fall down. Double kill to Verja. Might have gotten the first tower there, might have picking up the full feats, but Final Boss will not take that laying down and will pick up the team fight win. Barely missing out from Beg for Mercy there off that reset for Booty Warrior. Final Boss still going to be feeling really happy about that. They may have lost the feats, but they got the Drake and they won pretty hard on that team fight.
Yeah, absolutely. On top of that, it's not even just the fact that they got the extra Drake. Oh, Zazaby is in a rough position
Should
here.
be fine. The rest of To the Moon is close by. Zazaby might actually look to like, kind of keep them here.
Really?
He does have the flash. It's supposed to use it. There's the Encore onto 2, though. And it's going to be a route up onto Beg for Mercy. He's going to fall down. Not quite yet. It's going to flash away. Barely living out. Defoe. Can he find it? There's the Q missing out. There's the slow. The notes are going to hit just right. Call it a symphony as Jake going to go over the wall with that Cyclone. Booty Warrior trying to keep him there. Peekaboo dashing forward. Same with Rexcat. Jake going to fall down. Pretty sure shut down going over to Peekaboo. And a nice counterattack coming up for To the Moon, punishing the overstaying of Final Boss. Well done.
Yeah, absolutely. That doesn't bring them back to pretty much level. Did you see Rexcat having to get chased around here? They're still trying to secure.
Oh my goodness, the fights never stop here. JDK, Rexcat, Defoe is going to be able to walk away his jungler. I actually wasn't able to pick up. I actually did not quite see. Was Rexcat the one that picked up that Gromp?
I think, yeah, I believe they smited the Gromp, so that is going to be it secured for Rexcat. So they'll get a bit of counter jungling, but I don't think that's going to be too much in the grand scheme of the game. But even though there is a little bit of counter action there, TTM is still behind by about 2k gold. So Final Boss still have the lead. They also secured that second Drake for themselves. And on top of that, the biggest thing to me is the fact that most of those kills went over to the Senna. Senna is now firmly online, 2-0-5, not having fallen yet. And there's no vision here. So this Otacon is going to get started, and they're doing some serious damage, but there is going to be a presence. They're going to make their way down. They're going to run right into this.
They're going to find it out here. And Peekaboo is pretty close on fully maxing out that Muramana there. Root going to be up on Zazaby. Is going to only expend the pool there. So Rexcat in a really good position here. Encore is going to hit onto 3 members. Donnie Shadow to try to keep him alive. Solo clips onto multiple members. Crescent guard to keep Jake alive. Rexcat about to fall down. Able to barely get out alive. Taunty, JDK about to fall down. Beg for mercy. Trying to beg for his own. It's not going to be enough. Zazaby trying to do as much damage as Jake is going to be enough. Double kill to him. Rico coming out from Tati. He does have the TP if need be. But that's going to be To the Moon. Able to pick up that Atacon. Final Boss getting a little too cocky, I want to say, for that play there. And they're going to have to back off here. And once again, it's a constant ping pong between both these teams. And To the Moon has shown up to play.
Final Boss turn there and just go for the fight rather than half taking the fight and half still trying to take that Otacon, and they win that fight. But instead, To the Moon split them in half, and rather than getting the Otacon and get the kills, they fall and they lose the Otacon. So TTM have just dragged themselves back into contention, you know, putting that gold lead back to just about 500. So it is very clear TTM can bring themselves back into this game. That Otacon buff is also going to be huge for them. And that's even crazier because Final Boss did have the advantage. Rexcat had just recently used Smite, so that wasn't up. So they had the advantage going into that. They easily could have taken that fight and come back and still have been fine, but instead it goes TTM's way, and they're going to capitalize on it. The momentum's now back into their favor. They are behind in major objectives, but having that mid-tier 1 fallen is going to free up a lot of room in this blue side jungle. So TTM are going to have more room to operate. That being said, they did also lose their tier 1 on top side, so that's something they're going to have to worry about, especially as Silas seems to just want to keep pushing the button even farther down.
Here is going to be stunned up, but rooted up is Booty Warrior. Slow Clip's not going to hit any good targets. Beg for Mercy, about to fall down. It is going to walk into danger to get his jungler out. There's the Encore onto 2. Dying Shroud to try to keep him alive. Tunti into the backside here. See if he can find anything. Booty Warrior not going to quite fall down. Look at that healing. Double kill going over to Rexcat. Going to be entered over in Peekaboo there. Tunti getting the kill credit for that one. It's a 2v3, but a lot of low health bars for To The Moon. If they can just heal up with Defoe, they'll be fine. But still, it's going to be 2 for 1 in favor for To The Moon. They're going to feel quite happy about that one. They may have lost Peekaboo, but they're still going to be able to find some prio for this Drake. But TP coming out from JDK, they're not done quite yet. TP also coming out from Tanti. No ult from him, though, but JDK does have a really good position. Booty Warrior still really low, though. See if they can find anything. Encore onto 2 members there, and it's going to be Defoe falling down. Berkshire on a killing spree. Rexat able to pick up the Drake, but gonna fall down there. And kill credit going over to JDK. He's on a killing spree. And To The Moon equalize the Drakes, but again, lose out on a couple members here. It's never, ever just a one-off for either of these teams. They keep on stealing each other's tempos away.
And the big scary thing for TTM here is that now that gold lead that they just kind of clawed back has let slip a little bit more, but it's not just the gold. The problem now is that while they are level on pretty much everything else, this Silas and this Senna have not died in ages. They are just getting kills, they are getting assists, they are getting more and more gold in their pocket, and they're not getting punished for it. They're in such advanced positions that if they do not get put down here soon, there are going to be problems that are just running around the map. They're going to be super, super difficult. I mean, that fight was a 2v3 with JDK and Versha on either side of that Drake pit, and it was looking very scary for TTM, even without the backup of Beg for Mercy. So they really need to find a way of isolating these fights and removing those 2 threats off the board once, or at least once, hopefully 2 or 3 times, to kind of level out that difference, especially in the mid lane, as seeing as really no one on their team is super far ahead of their opposing laner. I mean, the Vladimir is 3-1, but it's still going to be a couple minutes until they really come online.
A lot of healing coming out with that Q, though. He's going to use the Hemo play. JDK going to try to pull him towards Jake, and Sazabi forced to flash there. Flash coming out with the W. Nicely well done by Jake, and Sazabi getting a little bit diffed onto the vision there. It's going to be To The Moon owning this bot side of the map, but final boss to a lot of resources into this top side. I'm pretty sure that tower is going to fall down. Don't think it's really going to stay alive for all much longer, as Defoe got to be a little bit careful. He is by himself. There's a lot of members of final boss continuing to push to this top side. JDK into this boss side, though, and with 3 of the grubbies, is going to do quite a bit of damage, as Talented going to go in right onto Peekaboo, clear out the wave, do quite a bit of damage on Peekaboo, taking him to about half HP, and Beg for Mercy is still here. Tower's going to fall down. Tier 2 bot side. To The Moon maybe threw a little too much resources into this top side, and final boss cash out into the bot.
Yeah, JDK is continuing to put pressure on them, not just getting kills, but also is responsible for split pushing through that top side, and now I think taking both those turrets in bot. So that's a lot of gold into their back pocket that they're securing, which is, again, putting them in a very advanced position. Versha is now approaching that 3-item spike as well. So those 2 big carries for final boss are really going to be coming online here in the next couple of minutes. Purple Sazabi, like I said, is probably the closest to being the significant threat for TTM, and they're doing good when it comes to the actual team fights, but in these smaller skirmishes, there is just too much individual advancement on the final boss side for them to really do much damage. So we need to start seeing them isolate some of these fights. They need to start doing some pack tactics to try to get rid of some of the advancement on these big carries.
Yeah, and Verja able to completely kind of hop over with that gold lead. Now has full 3 items, and what are 3 items they are, i.e. Lord Doms got the static for the wave clear there that Senna lacks so much of.
Oh, yeah.
So Verja in a really amazing position. I mean, she's just going to be snapping these low HP targets if she can get those autos off. And Peekaboo getting pretty close to that next item himself, but still is lagging quite behind. And JDK almost with that Zonya's. I mean, Zasby has to get his third item, or at least half of an item here. As about to fall down here, no pull, and there he is, JDK on a rampage, but the rest of To The Moon is here. JDK doesn't have his ultimate, but Jake does have his Crescent Guard, just in case. There's a TP's coming out from the top and the mid, respectively, and Jake gonna try to get out with that Blast Plant, but I don't think it's gonna matter. I think they win this team fight anyway. Even with the Encore, it doesn't matter. A lot of damage going off there. Double kill to JDK. Can he get the triple with the Broody Warrior? Not even gonna care about that. Gonna go right onto the foe. Get the slow off, but I mean, it all just came crumbling down. There was no angle where To The Moon even come close to winning that fight.
That was practically a 4v5, 5v5, and at the end, look at the health bars. Final boss is fine. They only have one Ocean Drake, so it's not like they're overwhelmingly regenning their health. They are just insanely good, and the damage is just not quite there for TTM. They have not had the opportunity to let any of those real big hyper carries, those hyper scalers, really get into this game. Meanwhile, I mean, in that last fight, the 4 that they secured, 3 of them went over to the Sylas, 1 went over to the Senna. It's now looking scary. We're at the point where Final Boss is absolutely looking for the win condition. They are wearing purple now on top of it, so they're going to be very strong going into this next fight, which it might be over this Drake if it's not just absolutely melted by this combination of the Xin Zhao and the Senna.
Looking for something, Rexcat over the wall. Final Boss has not used their gold yet. Rexcat going to see if he cannot go further. Strict not able to get it. Jake able to secure it. He's really well known for that one. Broody Warrior gonna be the next one up. Gonna fall down. JDK Godlike, the foe gonna fall down as well. Peekaboo trying his hardest, but it's not going to matter. And Zazabi, the hope for To The Moon, isn't going to be enough. That's an ace going over to Final Boss. They didn't even get to spend their gold between the last team fight win and between getting that buried, and they still crushed it. That's just how much further ahead they are, and just a better position they were able to find themselves in. And with this bot lane being pushed up, and this might be over 7 seconds for Rexcat, 7 for Broody Warrior. It will be a 2v5, and a lot of ults expended. Well, no, not really. A lot of low cooldowns. Yeah, I don't know how To The Moon really stopped this from happening. Rexcat, Broody Warrior going to try their best. Laser Cleanse coming out, not going to matter. Open Nexus is up. Dawning Shower for a lot of shielding going out, and they don't even have to kill them if they don't want to, but they're going to choose to do so. And that is going to be game 1 going to Final Boss, as they just blew that game open, like, instantly.
Yeah, I mean, it was close until it was not. I mean, we had said that there's very high ceiling, pretty low floor for that TTM lineup. Obviously, there was a lot more roads to victory from Final Boss. However, I was not expecting one of those roads to just crack open like that. I mean, TTM were doing really well. They were keeping this Final Boss team down pretty heavily. Senna did not get a kill until I think close to that 15 to 20 minute mark. They did so well keeping it down. The only thing they really couldn't deal with was that Sylas. But then as the game kept going, they still couldn't secure a kill on the Sylas. Sylas kept getting more gold onto the side lanes. They started taking team fights. Sylas started blowing through them, which also allowed Senna to start picking up kills. And after that, the ball started rolling farther and farther and faster until it became unstoppable. And there was just no one on TTM who was able to get a solid enough lead in their lanes to bring them really strong into that mid game. And after that, those last couple of team fights, it was all Final Boss. TTM was practically tickling Beg for Mercy with the amount of damage they were doing. And that was it. Everyone else was practically at full. They were struggling to get through any of the front lines. So, yeah, Final Boss really showing that team composition just... I do think this was a little bit of a team composition. Like I said, there was a very high ceiling from TTM, and I liked what they brought out, but I don't think there was as many routes for them to win as that Final Boss team, and it was very clear in the end of that game that that was the case.
Yeah, if they just kind of kept up with what they were doing, and they kept it even and kept it really close, like you said, there was a lot of roads for them to find for things that they needed to do, but as soon as they got cracked open, it was over. I mean, Final Boss never got close to losing a team fight, or even really looked like they were struggling at all. I mean, they found a pick right onto Zazabi, and then the rest of To The Moon thought like, oh, we caught their jungler here, we caught their mid laner here. They used the hijack onto the Vladimir. We got this. We can kill them. But Xin Zhao and Silas are very hard champions to kill, and they were able to buy enough time for the rest of Final Boss to collapse on it, and they didn't require that much time because they were already all rotating for this play. They read that's what To The Moon wanted to do, and it wasn't even close. They just collapsed on To The Moon, and it wasn't even a fight. It was it was shooting fish in a barrel. It really was. It was like it wasn't even close for To The Moon to find anything, and then even after that fight, they went straight to Baron, and even after the Baron, they still didn't even reset. Went into the Drake pit for that fight, and still won straight out. And they didn't even spend what probably they had like thousands of gold within their carries.
Only one.
I mean,
I
it
think
was
only the Xin Zhao backed. Yeah,
yeah.
going to that final fight. They also still had all that gold in their pocket. If they somehow were able to deter it, it still, I think, easily goes to final boss after the next big fight. But that being said, that is just game one. It is a best of three, so there's still a lot of game to be played. TTM, again, are a good team, so there is absolutely a world and a possibility that they come back and bring us in the game too, but we are going to have to wait and see. We are going to send it to a brief break to a lot of players to get water, use the bathroom, and all that, and we'll be back with game number 2 right after that short break.
Alrighty, welcome back to game number 2 between Final Boss Esports and To The Moon. Final Boss opening up with the game 1 win. To The Moon looking to trail behind to equalize in a 1-1 here, as it looked like it was quite a possibility for To The Moon to take the game against Final Boss, but Final Boss just constantly stealing the tempo away. I mean, both the teams were stealing the tempo away from each other throughout that game, but Final Boss just completely just slam dunked them in the end there.
Yeah, absolutely. But looking into game number 2, there's still a lot to play for. Both of these teams are really strong. And what I will say is, much like before, I mentioned that the first 6 bans are probably going to be pretty much the exact same. It's going to be the last 4 where we really start paying attention to what's getting banned away. But the picks are going to be the most interesting. Not a lot of really meta champions got taken away in that first round. I think really the only one of note, honestly, I think maybe, yeah, just Xin Zhao. Xin Zhao is really the only one in the top 10 that gets played or is one of the highest presence champions in the split, and really one of the more higher presence champion in the current meta. So only one of the top 10. I did see the Braum, and I believe we saw a Mel ban in the first wave, so we might not see them come out. But there is still a lot of really strong, really meta champions that are going to be available here. So I'm intrigued to see if we see that possibly come out from Final Boss, as they're going to want to look to end this series 2-0. So they're going to want to get some of the more meta champions to maybe put themselves in a more prime position. But TTM are going to be in a weird spot where they don't want to take all of them away, because hopefully they will bring it to a game 3. So it's definitely going to be something to look at, and definitely going to be something to keep in mind, especially if you're a fan of TTM.
Yeah, and there's a Tristana ban coming out. Same first ban for Final Boss from game number 1. We're gonna have to see what they plan on doing for the prio pick this time. It was Xin Zhao for the first game, and it worked out really well with them. There's the Ari ban. There's the Jinx ban. Very classic. And the volley
I was
there
wrong.
followed up from that. Mid ADC jungle getting out the first 3 go-tos for a lot of people here, as MF going to be the first pickup. So that is going to be the prio pick that Final Boss are going to want for. I mean, that's about as average as you get. MF first pick is a pretty strong go-to. Has a very strong laning phase. Has very strong pretty much almost every stage of the game. I would say the only thing I would say is MF's weakest point is just that little transitional phase between early to mid game when you're not quite at your second item, but laning phase and everything else does really well. As Nocturne going to be picked up here, and as is that Teemo? I can't quite tell. You know, it is invisible, but I'm pretty sure that's a Teemo right there.
I would love to see it. It'd be so fun. Though the Nocturne pick, do I even need to say what I want to say?
Yeah.
It is a heavy feaster famine champion.
Pones, man. It's not Deathmaster Pones.
It's not. It's not. Producer, what was that first R1 pick? Sorry. Lucian. Okay, so it's gonna be a Lucian. They pick Lucian into Nocturne, and obviously Final Boss are not gonna go for the Nami, but I'd imagine this R3 is gonna be some Enchanter, maybe Milio, but I mean Nami's the go-to. Meanwhile, we do see that bot lane pairing of Final Boss and the jungler get picked up, Trundle with that MF and not. I think that's pretty standard. I think the Trundle is definitely interesting, but it's strong in the current meta, so that's not crazy. But the MF and Nautilus is a classic pairing, much like Lucian and any Enchanter in the game. So I'd imagine that's actually going to be a pretty interesting bot lane, but I think rather even. Never mind, they're going to forego it. I'm assuming they're banking on the fact that TTM are not going to hard focus ban away supports, so they'll still have their choice while also getting a strong pick in the B4.
I don't know, like, okay,
Or
so you
B5,
have support and mid laners here, and Ari's already out, Vel'Koz is out, Seraphine's out, Vlad's out, Silas, Malphite. I mean, you got quite a bit of these members that are out here, and the way I see it is, why would you not just ban out the supports here? Like, Milio, perfect pick into Nautilus, right? Like, it has really good just disengage properties. Nami is a very easy go-to for the Lucian pick, right? Lucian Nami, one of the strongest lane matchups and kill lanes into this bot side, and one of the a few things you would want to pick into Misfortune that has a very strong laning phase. So they really are putting a lot of their eggs in one basket here with the Alawi pick. Like, I expect a Milio ban as well following up here if
Yeah.
To the Moon does actually able to foresee that going into their comp. Because, I mean, that's both two really strong,
Yeah.
support picks just completely taken away from Lucian. And Lucian's one of those ADCs where it's like you can't just pick anything and expect it to work, even if he is very strong, like in the current meta right now. It
Oh yeah.
does require some type of plan going into it, into that bot side matchup. And MF Nautilus is already a very strong lane. So we'll have to see what they plan on doing here. I expect a support pick to be here. There's the Lulu.
Blue.
It's not
There's the number.
horrible, but generally Lulu is better with those very auto-based champions, and Lucian being a spell weaver doesn't really go with that as well. So we'll have to see
Oh yeah.
what their plan is into this bot side and see how they can kind of weave it in. It might just be a great idea, but still we'll have to see if the Alawi can also do a lot into this top side, because if it can, then it was a good trade-off.
Yeah, I think it's going to come down to whether or not TTM was playing chess or checkers. Maybe they wanted to Lulu. Who knows? Like you said, maybe that could have been the strat, and they were kind of seeing if Final Boss would call their bluff, because Final Boss did. I mean, they were given the opportunity of either continuing to ban away those top laners, or focus hard and try to punish the Lucian. And when given the chance, I mean, Taunty was really solid and held their own up on that top side. But very clearly, that is the weak side for them. So they're fine, I feel like, giving up those two bans to put the Lucian behind a little bit. While also, I mean, they were already going to be on the blind pick anyway. So I think they kind of figured out, hey, just put Taunty on that Mordekaiser, pretty self-sufficient, especially with that W, can kind of just sustain in lane for a really long time. Try to keep that lane as level as possible going into that Alawi, which is a very lane bully, very heavy lane bully. So just do the best you can and hope that this bottom side now TTM bottom side weekend, just hope that this Nautilus and Misfortune can do absolute work and put themselves so far ahead that it doesn't really matter if this Alawi gets ahead. They'll just get ripped to shreds by the bot side the moment the team fighting stage of the game really starts up. So that's going to be something to look out for. We do see that mid lane matchup. It is going to be Nivea versus Cassiopeia. So that is going to be another thing to look up. But I think both of them, I mean, Cassiopeia is a little bit more damage heavy, but I think both of them, especially with the grounding and that big stun from Nivea, are going to be more setup players. But that Cassiopeia, if left unchecked, could also be a real big problem. So I definitely think it's very interesting. I think I once again, and you'll never guess why, but I think I once again lean Final Boss for the team compositions here. I think TTM, how crazy. I think they're going to be a bit more feast or famine. They'll either do really good or their jungler won't be an active participant in the game, and the rest of the team will suffer as well. So, how crazy. I know. It's insane, mind breaking and analysis here from me. You've never heard it before. First time.
The Nocturne, I feel like, is going to struggle a lot to be feasting in this game.
Oh, yeah.
He is the sole engage on his team in a team that has no follow-up. To the Moon does not have good follow-up at all. They have Lucian Dash. They have Lucian that can just kind of be throwing himself into a Cassiopeia, Mordekaiser, Trundle, Nautilus, and MF, which that doesn't sound like a good idea at all. You do have the Lulu, which does have a stronger sense of keeping you alive, I would say, over Nami Emilio, but just doesn't have as much as the utility you would want, especially in lane. So I'm a little curious to see how this game's gonna go by. It's like, it's entirely possible that Zazabi just completely destroys this top side and maybe just completely carries the game on the Alawi, but I don't know how To the Moon is going to be able to dictate the flow of this game outside of that top side, because they have no engage outside of Nocturne. But even with Nocturne, they don't really have any good follow-up as well. It seems like it was just a lot of like, okay, let's just pick stuff that can do good specifically in the lane, right? You have the Lucian, which does, well into the bot side, is a strong bot lane champion, and with the Lulu is still going to do well. Alawi, very strong top side pick. Nocturne has the ability to affect change a lot easier than a lot of other junglers. Anivia, very annoying pick into the mid lane, regardless if you actually know how to pilot her. So it seems like they just pick these very annoying picks, and hopefully that's going to stack enough to win out against Final Boss. We'll have to see if that's going to end up working out, or if Final Boss is just going to just find the chink in the armor and just roll over them.
Yeah, I agree with a lot of the points you're making. I really do struggle to see how this Nocturne's going to find, because again, there's not a lot of follow up. I mean, there is absolutely the opportunity, like you said, that Sazabi on this Alawi just kind of wrecks shop up on the top side, and when paired with a Nocturne, can really do some damage and continue to put this top side down. But if they focus so heavily on the top side, then your bot side will stay so weak, and the solution already with a bad pairing with the support, it could just be a rollover down there. And I don't know what side you would rather win out, but I would personally say the bot lane is going to bring them into that mid game a lot stronger than, say, an Alawi. Because once you get to the mid game, if that misfortune gets ahead, she's just going to shred through the Alawi. Just absolutely shred through like piece of paper with a hot knife. So that is going to be an interesting pair. I do think, again, this mid lane pairing is going to be a big decider. Both are pretty strong setups. Both can do some serious damage. They're also big turners in fight. I mean, we saw how often that Encore in the last game played an impact in those big team fights. I think both of these champions have the potential to do the same. So, especially as we start getting to the mid game, even if the top or the bot side got a little bit more shine in the early, definitely keep an eye on that mid lane pairing, because that could be a big decider for the whole game, possibly the series.
Yep, it's going to be up to really see if this Nocturne is going to be feasting this game, if he is going to go home starving. Final Boss up 1-0 in the best of 3 to the moon, looking to trail behind to equalize the series. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back in a couple of minutes. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Game number 2 between Final Boss Esports and To The Moon. Sides did not swap, but To The Moon is currently down 1 game in the best of 3, so they have to win this one to equal up. They have to look for a reverse sweep. Final Boss looking to sweep them, though, 2-0 here tonight, as looks like we're going to be stacked up all 5 for To The Moon. Final Boss gonna decide against it, even though they're the ones with the Nautilus. They're just gonna go for a basic 5-point here. Looks like nothing crazy going on. That's interesting, considering that they have Mordekaiser, Trundle, MF with a Nautilus. They have a very strong level 1, and Final Boss didn't want to go for it. Interesting.
Yeah, actually, it looks like TTM not even going to go for an invade. They're just expecting Final Boss to come through with a level 1 invade and are waiting patiently for them. But they won't find anything, and I don't think they even see Beg for Mercy there. So according to them, there's nothing going on. Notably, I don't think Final Boss saw them either. So it is going to end up being pretty much a 5-point across the board and no real notable vision given over to either side. So it's going to be a pretty neutral start to the game. Mordekaiser is playing a little bit more advanced as TTM is a little slow to getting to their positions. But again, that's not going to be that big of a difference maker as we do see the first wave starting to clash in that mid lane.
Yep. Ward coming out from Beg for Mercy as well to see where Rexcat is going to start up. I know he's going to be starting up into this top side because he's not onto that blue buff. So it is going to be, I was assuming, a same clear into this bot side for both of these junglers. Seeing if they cannot affect some change into this Lucian, Lulu, MF, Nautilus. It's a volatile lane. Either of these lanes could easily walk away and just absolutely decimate the other. So let's see if they cannot stop that from happening from either end. Trundle gonna have a little bit of easier time early on. Nice Qs coming out in the bounces from Berger though.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we do see a little bit of dueling. Taunty actually starts with that level 2 advantage, so is going to try to do what they can to keep this Alawi back, which, again, this is a bully lane for Alawi, so Alawi will have the advantage. So trying to do some extra damage, keep him on the back foot is exactly what Taunty needs to do to try to keep this lane in their favor as long as they physically can until this Alawi becomes a little too scary. But right now, it is still manageable for them as pretty much every lane is level. I say that, Taunty.
I'm gonna be careful. He's gonna hit that level 3. It's gonna get hit by that tentacle though. Just be careful because not too long and level 3 will go over to purple Zazabi. Peekaboo being hit up by that dredge line, and there's a lot of damage coming out there, and you have to be careful. Flash answer to both sides, but there's the auto to pull in first blood. Taunty 2K. Oh my goodness, that was so close. As Zazabi was able to hit that level up, it would have spelled disaster. He got it right at the end there, but just not quite enough. TP coming out of Zazabi, gonna push Taunty out, but is gonna be able to pick up that kill. It was almost good reaction time from Taunty too. He almost hit that Q flash, following up the flash from Zazabi as well. But still, ended up getting the kill at the end though, and that is not what you want to see when you pick up this Alawi top.
Not at all. And also, we are going to see the recall immediately and the TP back. So they're going to take that gold that they just got and use it to their advantage, get a bit of an item lead, and go back in to try to capitalize on the lead that they just kind of secured, as we do see them immediately go for a fight again.
Going to be shielded up there. There's a flash coming out, but flash auto is going to be rooted up. Jake picking up that one. Rexcat not able to just walk around here. He has no prio in mid, no prio in bot lane, and with really good follow-up that Final Boss has with the dredge line, with the chomp slow, and the miasma from JDK. Just cannot walk around without seeing in the vision of where these members are, as Beg for Mercy once again walking up looking for something. Jake here with the pillar is nice! Follow-up there. It's going to force flash out of booty warrior. There's the Ignite. One more auto. Is it going to be enough? It is! Ignite going to claim the kill, burning down that poor Yordle there. Oh, disaster for To The Moon, but nice pillar from Jake. Push! Booty Warrior right into that hook.
Yeah, and notably, that does go to Beg for Mercy. So Nautilus is going to be the one to pick up the kill, which is not ideal, but it's definitely not bad because that does secure them the feat of Warfare. So the first feat of Strength is going to go over to them, and this is a much better start than what we saw in the last game. They started off pretty slow, but built into it this time. They're going pretty strong. I mean, the lead they got on that top side has leveled out quite a bit, but right for now, there is still the item lead in favor of Taunty. So at least for this next fight that they kind of have, or skirmish, it should be in their favor. So right now, Final Boss is doing pretty good across all their lanes. They even have about a 1.2k gold lead. So they're doing pretty well, much different from game one.
Yeah, and once the levels start heading up into this top set and they both get their ultimates, the Death Realm does an amazing job completely countering what Zazby wants to do. If he uses R first, Taunty just takes him to the Death Realm, and all of a sudden he doesn't have any tentacles. He has no way to really fight there. So it's whoever used the ultimate first, but there's no reason for Taunty to ever feel the need to unless Zazabi just overcommits. Peekaboo too far forward, has the flash, has the barrier. Booty Warriors here is going to get hit by that Dread Zone. I don't know how that happened, but Verja taking a lot of damage. Got to be careful. Has the sums as well. Going to be forced to flash and use the barrier. Peekaboo chasing down the slow. That could be enough, but the Ardent Blaze going to find its target, but still, back from Mercy looking for something on Peekaboo. Jake is here if he can't find the chomp up. Nice shield coming from Booty Warrior. TP coming out from Defoe. Peekaboo pick up the kill onto Jake. To the moon, able to find a little bit of a counter attack here into this game, shutting down the tempo for Final Boss, and this is a huge way for Verja to lose.
Yeah, that is a massive loss for, I think, the entire team there, as that's also turret planes go over, 2 kills on the Peekaboo. It is very scary. They've caught up and surpassed them in gold as well. So what was looking like a really solid start for Final Boss is kind of falling apart around them. This should be their Drake as well.
They're not looking to stop this, or they're looking to stop this here as Verja is on the back here. Jake looking for something. Not going to be able to find it, but that is going to kill going over to Verja here. And Vexcat going to fall down as well. Defoe going to be forced to flash. They're hunting him down. The troll wants to eat the bird. Not going to be able to find the drumsticks here today, but still, they may have lost to Drake, but again, shut down the tempo of To The Moon. These teams love doing it to each other. It's just constant tempo shutdown for both of them.
Yeah, and much like in game one, because the kills went the way of Final Boss so early and they secured that field of warfare so early, we're going to see To The Moon here do exactly what they did in that last fight, which is put a lot of priority towards these first couple major jungle objectives. They do not want to give away those feats of strength, especially so early, so they secure the first one that puts them in the lead. Grubbies, I believe, yeah, they're going to be up here soon, so expect to see some presence. We're already seeing that Nocturne towards the top side, but it looks like it is going to be met by the Trundle, so I would not be surprised if in the next minute or two we do see yet another fight in and around these pits, because TTM are going to desperately want to stay in the fight here, because again, they can bring it 1-to-1 of those feats of strength. It just comes down to whoever has a stronger lane, and they did pick to have stronger lanes, so that's something that they're going to want to play for.
Both supports are up here. Both ADCs left down to the bot side here to just farm it up here. Colin going to take the health bar version to about half here. Still not at level 6 here, but it looks like it is just going to be a 4v4 here. There's a Paranoia going right onto Beg for Mercy. It's going to be the Fear Tether going onto Jake, and he's about to fall down here. Is going to use the ultimate to try to keep himself alive. Perfect taking a lot of damage, taunting into the backside. Purple Zazabi going to be beaten up here. No ultimate from Zazabi either, but Defoe able to pick up that one right onto Jake. Is going to walk away. It is going to be both junglers falling down here, so it is going to be an equal 1-for-1 trade. No one gets any of the grubbies either, so it's just going to be an equal trade of the junglers. Nothing else is going to be found for both of these teams here, but Zazabi is going to take the worst end of that trade during that fight, so Taunty going to be feeling a little bit happy here, as maybe something looks for here, as Beg for Mercy looking for something right onto Defoe. He's going to be careful, is going to be grounded, doesn't have to flash up, he is going to go into egg form. What do you want? Scramble to over easy. I don't know what happens when we went poison into it, but Booty Warrior going to fall down as well. Double kill going to over to JDK. Oh no. They keep on trying to grab more than what they think they can. They think it's just Beg for Mercy, and they think JDK is weak, but when you get that poison up, the Twin Figs do so much damage. And now To The Moon on this bot side jungle, and Jake is just going to be eating up all this free golden XP.
Yeah, this is the real big problem. The more things change, the more they stay the same. JDK is already 4-0-2. We
Right
do
into the moon.
see the grubby
Oh
start to
no,
get
he's
secured.
not level 6. He doesn't have the raw growth yet. He's gonna be stuck into the wall. Gonna be forced to flash. There's the ignite. Not gonna be enough, but that is going to be the summoner expunded there. Peekaboo is going to be looked after next. There's the Colin to try to cold down Jake's HP bar. Relentless pursuit, but there's the dredge line there, but is gonna fall down. Peekaboo able to pick up that one, but Verja with one more auto, can she get it? Yes, she can. 1-for-1 trade. But still, Jake took the entirety of this boss side from To The Moon. He may have fallen down, but they still get the kill onto Peekaboo, and he's the strongest member. And realistically, is still about equal onto this boss side once Version can get this reset off.
Yeah, it's looking a little scary because Peekaboo's really, like you said, the only one who's been able to get very ahead, and they've done such a good job at isolating the fights and getting him off the board. Meanwhile, we continue to see JDK continue to put pressure. Taunty is doing really well into this Alawi lane, and while they did just lose the grubs, they're still in such a good position. They're about 2.8, 2.7-ish gold, 2.7k gold ahead of them, and a lot of it's on this mid lane. I mean, we've already seen JDK secure Rod of Aegis and has built their first like really big component as well. So the item advantage is definitely really starting to come online for Final Boss. So even though they lost the grubs, I don't think that's a major loss for them.
Yep, there's the Death Realm taking Zazabi right into there. Is going to use the ultimate, and that's just not going to be enough. Dredgen going to land. Jake with a beautiful parry. There's Paranoia, not going to matter. JDK unstoppable. Rexcat trying his best, but he's getting shredded by JDK. Oh my, this isn't even like... He has all the scaling items here, as there's the Petrifying Gaze. Peekaboo forced to flash, Colin to retreat. Oh my goodness, JDK is just an absolute raid boss here. But yeah, he has Rod of Ages. He has the tier as well. I mean, these are all scaling items that he has. He does have the Blasting Rod towards more of a damaging item, but he's just going to get exponentially stronger every 60 seconds here. And it's just, you have to find some way to shut him down, but with the miasma and with the almost no follow-up that To The Moon have, how do you get onto this snake?
Yeah, I don't want to be labeled as a hater or
He can
doomer.
run away! Make
Oh,
it rain full of time, and there's the pillar splicing him into two! Oh no, they got caught again with that little cheese bush there. Tower's probably about to fall down once that next wave comes in. 13-4 To The Moon are not having a good game right now.
Yeah, it's kind of all crumbling. That's also going to be the bot lane tier 1. I think that's just gone, which means the feats of strength are officially going to go over to Final Boss. So they're going to be able to build momentum off that as well. Most of that blue side on bot has been secured by Final Boss now as well. I also hate to be doomer, but I mean, the Nocturne is 0-3. It's just not able to get any follow-up. It is looking a little gloom here for Final Boss. They need to find some avenue to bring themselves back into this fight. They're already 6k gold down, and it's only minute 13.
Yeah, there's the wall there. Beg for mercy. Now knowing with that down is going to walk up. He's a little too close to the tower, so the foe is going to be able to live. He did bait out Beg for Mercy's flash. He did use that trying to look for the dredge line, but nice wall placement from Defoe is going to keep him alive. Zazabi, yep, there's the Rylai's as well, hunting guys for the extra damage, forcing the flash out of Zazabi. I'm pretty sure the next fight is probably going to end up with a solo kill. Yeah, that's 2-level lead for this Mordekaiser here into a lane where you were really hoping this Alawi was really going to make a difference with how early that you picked it. And he's just going to tank up those tentacles. He's not really going to care all that much.
Jake's in down.
Paranoia is up for Rexcat. He is heading up towards this top side. And that is a lot of damage and healing coming from Zazabi, but there's the ultimate for the Death Realm, and Zazabi can't go anywhere. It doesn't... Nice healing, but... There it is. There's the shield about half HP. Got about his half HP back with the W. And they're probably just looking to pick up this tower here. That's going to be blown right open. And mid lane going to be the only bastion left. There's the Paranoia by Antiversia, but there's the flash away from the Tether. And next target being Beck for Mercy isn't going to matter. There's the depth charge, gonna keep him in lane for the bullet time. Nice wild growth coming out from Booty Warrior, but a lot of damage coming out with that bullet bouncing between the two of them, and Verja and Beck for Mercy trying for the 2v3, but with JDK here, Peekaboo trying his best. The piercing light not going to come out there. It's gonna backfire, piercing his own. Oh no, Peekaboo falling down, Rexcat falling down, Booty Warrior barely surviving, Defoe trying his best onto Verja, might be able to find something. JDK trying to get his ADC away here, and his presence will be enough to deter Defoe from going any further there. They're trying so hard to find anything, to get any type of inch, centimeter, even a millimeter of just something, and they cannot find it.
Yeah, no, it just feels like every time they try to take a fight, they're doing well to try to isolate them when JDK is just not there. But in the background, you just see JDK start walking up, and the entirety of TTM have to back away. They have to respect the damage that this Cassiopeia can do. They have now also completed rallies, so they're going to be slowing people down on top of the miasma, on top of the grounding. It's going to be so difficult to get away, so they need to back away before they get locked down by her. It is becoming very scary. They've lost the tier 1 in both their bot and their top lanes, which means they have lost practically full control of their jungle. Obviously, the tier 1 and mid is still up, but that is teetering now, especially as JDK is constantly pulling pressure up onto that top side. So we're having to see a lot more of TDM focus on that mid to not lose that as well.
Yep, Defoe trying his best, clearing out the waves. He has really good anti-siege, and one good thing about this Anivia pick is very hard to siege against her, even if you throw multiple members. Zazabi, I don't see him ever finding an angle onto JDK at all, especially with that Rylai's constantly throwing out those annoying slows. Shelly, going to be summoned up. That mid lane tower is history. There it is, gonna fall down. They're gonna try to go for a second go around here. Is going to have to go right around that pillar. Is going to be able to get it. Knock up Peekaboo while he's at it and able to find it up. There's depth charge this bullet time. Peekaboo going away from that one, and they might be able to find something on the Verja. They do. Rexhat flashing away to stay alive. Defoe into the flank here. Dredge line falling up onto Booty Warrior, but you do not want to be here any longer. Beg for mercy. Going to be forced to flash over the wall. Actually able to live because they're not going to chase any further. They do not want to get greedy here. Tanti looking for something. Nice spell shift from Rexhat to keep him alive. Tanti going to bring Peekaboo into the death drum. Slam the mace right on top of that Lucian, burying him straight into the ground. Tanti walking away is going to live out. Thumbs up coming out from Jake. And they're just going to go right back to what they're doing. Picking up these objectives left and right. To the moon. Pretty good team fight for them. Able to find something onto Verja, but not going to be able to quite find enough to do anything but just that. Beg for mercy looks like he's going to fall down, but nice splash from him. Keep him alive. 2 Drakes going over to final boss. And, I mean, if they keep on stacking up these Mountain Drakes and they get that soul, you're definitely never killing any member of final boss.
Yeah, no, that is a very scary soul, especially when you're staring down the barrel of a Nautilus, a Mordekaiser, and a Trundle. The tankiness on that front line will be insane. And honestly, it's not even like there's a lot of a gap between. I mean, Misfortune and Cassiopeia aren't known for like very long range backline carries. So they'll have to pretty much be still right next to the front line if they want to go and isolate those fights in those team fights. So it is very scary for TTM. They have to start putting a little bit more focus to deny them that Drake stacking, because they need to just cut off any lines of victory here for final boss, because now it's 17-5. The gold lead is about 8k. They now also have the advantage in turret, seeing as that tier 1 in mid fell as well. They also have the advantage on just jungle objectives in general. So they need to start isolating fights. They need to start taking away possible means of snowballing from final boss. But at the same time, you have to think to yourself, how are they going to do it? I think they really do need to find a way of getting rid of JDK. They need to find a way of doing like a 3v1. It's got to come down to pack tactics, because they cannot win in an even 5v5 right now.
Tactic is what you called it. It looks like that's what they're going to try to go for Tanti here, but this is not the person you want to try it on. He will make that an instant 1v1, steer your stats away, and win the fight regardless. Going to go right onto Zazabi. Zazabi going to force be forced to be flashed over this wall, and Taunty not able to get as much damage as he out once, but there's the ult coming off Zazby. Not quite when he wanted it to be done, but I think it's going to matter. There's the Coling, and he's going to fall down. Shutdown going over to Peekaboo, but mid lane tower tier 2 is going to fall down to the Moon. Going to use the ultimate there. There's the Paranoia going right onto Jake. Stunned up, beaten down. There's the bullet time shredding to the Moon. And they're going to be forced to back off from that one. And it looked like it could have been a possible double play, but Final Boss do shut it down. Zazby doing a good job buying a lot of time away from that Death Realm to keep him alive and to get him that shutdown. Zazby, though, don't fall down. I just praised you. The caster curse. JDK dominating. Oh, no. He still got the Anivia here. So he's still got a lot of anti-siege. So they're not going to be able to pick up the tower, but still, losing that top laner does give an avenue for To The Moon to not really do much with that kill up into this top side. And Atacon is up. 18 seconds for TP. Don't think it's going to be enough for them, for Zazby to come back alive. That's free objective. Not much To The Moon can do about it.
Yeah, and it's just melting away. There's just so much damage here, and there's no vision for To The Moon. They have no control of their own jungle, let alone the river. So that is going to be Otacon secured. Beg for Mercy is going to go hunting. Is going to spot him on that blue buff, as we do see a bit of a fight here.
Oh, going to be slowed up twice here, but tower's still close enough by. He has the ultimate, so he is going to be able to have a lot of zone control there, but they're going to lose the blue buff. Unfortunately, like a Beg for Mercy was like, wait, they don't need me for this Atacon. I'm going to go cause some disruption and chaos into the bot side jungle and just push Rexcat out of his own jungle. Oh, that's been happening all game. Rexcat has not had a really good time into this bot side of the map at all.
Really, no. It's been really rough. I mean, 0-4-4. There is just no follow-up to go in on any of their ultimates. They've done pretty good in some of their fights. Are very good at disengaging, getting out after that initial go-in. But, man, it's just a little rough. Final boss, 18-6. The gold leaders continue to expand. The siege has pretty much come through. We're at the point where final boss are looking for win conditions. Baron is going to be available in less than 3 minutes. So that's going to be something to note for. Drake is up in 45, though. So we're one away from a soul point, possibly, for final boss. And right after that will be Baron.
He'll be fine, yeah. Was forced to use the flash, was also forced to use his ultimate as well. Defoe gonna get that nice stun onto Taunty. So there's just going to be a little back and forth into this top side here. Defoe's not really going to be able to push in Anivia, and Anivia's not really going to be able to push out the Taunty at all. So goody work. Good work. Up. Yep, Bronco's not gonna matter. Gonna fall down. For sure, taking that out.
How dare you play in your own lane, honestly.
Yep, he was just stepped out a little too far there, and unfortunately just gets pillared onto the wrong side and just gets shredded by Verja there. Bot tier 2 fall down, mid tier 2s fell down, top tier 2. Oh, hold that thought. Verja eating a lot from that calling. That was almost a perfect calling. I think Peekaboo only lost like 1 or 2 shots there. Forces the barrier out of Verja, but with that Bloodthirster is just going to be able to heal right back up. But hey, that's the damage Lucian can do if he can land all of his ultimate abilities there. But still point going over to final boss. To the Moon needs something, need some type of break for them to be able to do anything. That 1,000 gold shutdown onto JDK would be that break. We'll see if they are going to try to overload into this bot side to look for it.
It'd be amazing if they could have one really good team fight. I mean, look at the bounties. That would be 1,000, almost 1.2k in gold in bounties alone just for killing the mid to bot sides, which would be huge for them. But that's also requiring them to kill JDK, Verja, and Beg for Mercy, which is seeming practically impossible at the current moment. We do see that final tier 2 fall, as well as the sieging has truly begun as the rotations back and forth trying to find kills.
Go for it.
JK.
Going to be a whiff there from Zazby. Nice petrifying gaze onto 2. Zazby has to walk out. Don't think it's going to quite burn down, but it's going to go right onto Peekaboo. The healing is crazy. The damage is enough. Flashing forward, not going to be enough. There's the fear. JDK is going to be able to barely walk out of that tether. That did not look like it was long enough. Dredgeline right onto Defoe is going to be rooted up. Jake trying to break down this tower. Taunty is here is going to get the nice pull coming out, flashing over right onto the foe, and the wall is not going to be enough there. They're going to crack that egg right open there. Verja able to pick up that one. Broody Warrior kind of on the wrong side of the wall, and Zazaby trying to clear out the wave, does a pretty good job, able to flash out, not going to be able to get hit up by that Dreadnought. JDK going to chase down the Alawi, but the rest of the members in front of Bosch are going to march just right down this mid lane. 5 seconds for Xcat, JDK with the flash, with the Q, Twin Fangs. He is now legendary. Peekaboo is now left up a lot, or spawned up. My bad, shutdown going over to him. That was a lot of damage there. Coley going on to Tanti, beating him to about half HP. He does have the Death Realm if need be. Jake gonna see if he cannot pick up the inhibitor. Yes, he will. Tanti just thinking if he needs to go back on this. Jake with the flash is gonna stay alive. Nice pull onto 2. Death Realm onto Peekaboo. He's gonna fall down. Dreadblind right onto the support. Broody Warrior is gonna fall down. Rexka miasma'd up. JDK legendary. Double kill to Tanti. The foe has to anti-siege it up with this Anivia. 5 seconds on Zazaby. He should have enough time to hopefully hold down the forts. But Jake is just breaking down the turrets of your bases. There's the 3rd inhibitor. Double supers on this next spawn. To the moon. Can they survive long enough? And it looks like they are going to be able to barely, as 8 seconds onto this bot side. To the moon. Hanging on by a thread here.
Yeah, and I mean, Baron just spawned. They're 1 away from Soul. Baron is available, so they're going to get that recall. They're going to get all the gold that they just secured off of all of those major, objectives that they just secured. And it does, yeah, we see the pings immediately. Baron is the goal. You imagine TTM know that, but again, what are you supposed to do? JDK is just a serious problem. 10-0-3, 10 stacks on the Rod of Ages, full Rallies, full Seraphs, as well as 2 rods. So they're just off of Rabadons as well. If they get this Baron, I think they might be able to buy Rabadons as well. It is a very scary sight for TTM. This needs to be flawless for them. Look at the damage onto that Baron. It's gone. Even if TTM wanted to, by the time they were even gotten to it, it would have been gone. Jeez.
I was hoping with that blue ward, he would have been able to just paranoia and be able to steal it away. That was about the only avenue, but it was a little too early for that blue ward in. 5v5, you have 6 supers coming into your base every like 30 seconds, and there's the bullet time just shredding the foe there, and even with the raw growth, it's not going to matter. Depth charge onto Peekaboo is going to be forced to walk away. Dreadnought away from the fountain. Petrifying Gaze. Going to petrify Peekaboo. Broody Warrior about to fall down. There he goes, and it's just Purple Zazaby, but no longer. You're not wearing purple. Final boss is, and they're about to wear the victory capes of this series as they're going to take up the 2-0 over To the Moon. What a just absolute stomp of a game number 2.
Wow. I mean, To the Moon has been looking pretty solid. They've been a pretty solid team throughout this entire split. And Final Boss, while they are at that number 2 spot, I mean, they've not looked flawless. They've absolutely been beaten. They also are a game behind, so they were a lot more of a question mark. But man, what was a really close game number 1, Final Boss came into game number 2 and said, no. You're not allowed. We are the number 2 team in the split right now, and they came in to prove it. I mean, I think it finished 31-7. JDK went deathless in that game. It was just it's one of those games as a caster you almost hate the cast because it's so difficult to see the bright side. And TTM, they were trying so desperately to find avenues into that game, to find a foothold, but it was like they were trying to play in gravel. The foot just kept slipping out from under them. JDK would come in whenever they thought they were in a 2v1 and they had to back away. It was just kind of a tragic game throughout for TTM as they fall in game number 2. I mean, I really liked them in game number 1. They had that really high ceiling. They were doing good in the early. They just kind of fell apart in that late mid game and couldn't get the control back in the late game. But man, Final Boss, it was a statement game, really. I said this was going to determine how the seeding, how people were really feeling about the seeding going into this late stage of the split. And Final Boss said, no, we are number 2 and we deserve it. Show it.
It was you could see like a little bit kind of transfer over from that game 1 towards the end there, where the game was close for game 1. It was a constant back and forth, but To the Moon were actually looking like they could take it away, and then towards that end, Final Boss just slam dunked them like 3 team fights in a row, and that really seemed like it transferred into this game number 2, where To the Moon really did not get any angles where they were actually able to do much against Final Boss. Yeah, they caught a couple of kills over and overextended with Taunty or Verja and just picked up kills here and there, but like it wasn't a tempo advantage. Like it didn't stop the tempo from Final Boss. It didn't give the tempo into your advantage whatsoever. It was just like a little bit of a speed bump for Final Boss because they were just that far ahead and they just had that much pressure around the entirety of the map. So Final Boss just absolutely just making a statement of that game number 2, like you said, where it's like, hold up a second, that game 1 was a mulligan. Like, we are this good. And yeah, they really did prove it with that game number 2.
Yeah, absolutely. But that is going to be Final Boss securing the 2-0 victory over TTM. And that's all we're going to have for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Of course, special shout out to Sheep, the wonderful play-by-play caster, the best in the business. Special thanks to Giggle on the producing table, making all the magic happen behind the scenes, all the TOs, making sure everything goes smoothly, all the players for coming out and showing out, especially Final Boss really showing out tonight. And of course, special thanks to you guys, the viewers at home, because if you're not watching, what's the point? Of course, you can find us same time, same place every week, Tuesday, 8 p.m. EST, the only time zone that matters. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next week.